Rabotai, once again, I address you about the importance of proper decorum in the beit Knesset. What I mean by proper decorum in today's talk is being careful not to speak in the beit Knesset at the times that it is forbidden, which probably is from the time you walk in until you leave. Clearly it includes the reading of the Sefer Torah, and certainly it includes the Hazara, the Amidah. Let's talk about those two specific items before we eat something that's too big to bite. The parashiyot that we're reading now all talk about Mitzrayim. Most of us have no connection to Mitzrayim. Most of us were never there. Our grandparents didn't work in Egypt, so it's ancient history. But the Mekubalim, they learn a very important lesson from Mitzrayim by looking at the letters. Well, if you look at the first letter of the word Mitzrayim, it's a mem. It's called an open mem because it's a letter that starts the word. It's called mem patuah. Well, if you look at the last letter of Mitzrayim, it's also a mem, but that's a closed mem. We call it a mem sofit, or we call that mem satu. Well, it's interesting that the Gemara in Shabbat says something incredible about the mem patuah and the mem satu. Mem, the Gemara says, is an abbreviation for the word ma'amar. Ma'amar means to speak, to talk. And the two mems represent mem patuah, ma'amar patuah, that sometimes there's a time to open your mouth. And then the other times there's a time to close your mouth, mem satu. And that's where the Yetzer Hara is going to fight you, in these two mems. When you're supposed to close your mouth, he's going to tell you to open your mouth, and when you're supposed to open your mouth, he's going to tell you to close it. That's why the Mekubalim write that if you take the word Mitzrayim, the first mem is a mem patuah, the last mem is a mem satu, and the letters in between are the letters Yetzer, to come and tell you that that's where the fight of the Yetzer Hara is. In a synagogue, it's obvious. Where there it's clear, you see all the signs on the wall. You're not supposed to talk in the synagogue at the time that they're praying. It's obvious. I don't think anybody argues. And even the people that talk, I don't think they say it's permissible. They just cannot control because they're victims of the Yetzer. So we have a modern Mitzrayim in our midst. The battle of Mitzrayim still is amongst us. The Yetzer confusing us between the two mems. Now, I'll tell you another reason why people might rationalize speaking in the beit Knesset. If you would ask most people, what's more important? The silent Amidah or the repetition? Well, if you'd asked me 20 years ago, I would say, of course, the silent Amidah is more important. After all, we were taught in school that the only reason why we do the repetition is for people who didn't know how to pray. So they want to fulfill their obligation. The Azan repeats it. But today everybody knows how to pray. Most people that come to the beit Knesset and have the Siddur, they know the Amidah by heart. So most of us look at the Hazara as an old custom that really doesn't have too much value in the modern world. Comes the rabbi called the Ben Ishai, the Ben Yosef Haim in Baghdad, and he says, again according to the Mekubalim, that the Hazara is mandatory, even in a place where everybody knows how to pray, and its value is higher than the Lahash. I say again, the value of the repetition Amidah is higher, and there's chances that it'll be more accepted even than the silent. And he says that's why. The silent Amidah, you know why we have to say it's silent? Because we're worried that it might get hijacked or sabotaged by what he calls mekatregim, the spirits that try to grab the Kiddusha. So we have to say it low. He says, but the Hazara is so holy that even the mekatregim, even the prosecutors run away so we can say it out loud. We're not scared of the prosecutors. That's why you can say it out loud. Because it's such a high level, nobody can touch it. The Amidah, the silent one, you have to say it low, but you have to sneak it in. But the Hazara, broadcast it as loud as you want. So people think they could talk during the Hazara. What I tell them is, if you're going to talk and you have a choice, speak during the silent Amidah. If you have something important to say and you're going to say it, better to talk during the silent Amidah. But you're in the middle of the silent Amidah, stop, go to your friend and talk to him. You're better off doing that than to interrupt the repetition, because the repetition is much higher. Now some of you will say, well, listen, I'm not a Kabbalist, so this doesn't talk to me. Well, maybe this one I'll tell you will talk to you. The way I look at it is imagine if you have a lawyer that's making his case for his defendant. He's in court, he's making his case. Now, my defendant, he's innocent, he deserves the benefit, and deserves all the innocent verdict and so on. And he's talking to the judge on behalf of the defendant. And as he's talking to the judge, the defendant is talking to somebody else in the courtroom. Or he's texting. Or he's fooling around, reading a book. So the judge calls the lawyer to the bench and says, come in. Your client is guilty. He says, how do you know he's guilty? You didn't let me finish the case. He says, look at his behavior. As you're petitioning for him, he's talking in the courtroom. That means he has no heart. He has no sense of what's going on over here. As you're petitioning and you're talking to me, his life is in my hands. And as you're talking to me to grant him a pardon, he's disinterested. Well, that's why I look at it the way the Hazan does the Hazara. When the Hazan is making the Hazara, he's petitioning God who's at the bench. And he's petitioning for us, we're the defendants. Give them wisdom, give them money, give them health. And what is the defendant doing as the lawyer is petitioning the judge at the bench? He's talking. So the judge says, are these people for real? As the judge is making his case, they're talking, they're not interested. So what should I give them a courtesy? Well, you don't have to be a mikubal for that to strike a chord in your heart. Last but not least, the reason why people talk in the beit Knesset, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. You've heard me say this many times. It's for a simple reason. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're saying. The Sidur is no different than a Chinese newspaper. Now, how many days can a person be put in front of a Chinese newspaper and read words that he has no understanding what they mean, and you expect him to keep his attention? So, if we want to be proactive in solving this problem, which I think it has gotten better as a result of these little videos and the different hachamim that have gone on a campaign to talk about it, it's gotten better. But if we really want to approach the subject at its root, we have to teach people what the words mean in the Siddur. And then once they start understanding it, it becomes an interesting book. It becomes a book that you can't put down. It becomes something that you become riveted. You become so attached to it. It becomes something that is very, very attractive or magnetic. Baal Shem Tov said on the Pasuk, when Noah was building the Teva, it says, Zohar ta'aseh la Teva. That when you build the ark, you must put a window. But the Baal Shem understood that the word Teva can mean the word. The word, a Teva is a word. And he says, the word, you must put light into the word. Sohar ta'aseh la Teva, you must illuminate the word. The words of the Siddur have a lot of light inside of them. The problem is if you don't understand what they mean, so they're filled with darkness. So you must illuminate the word. How do you illuminate the word? With a translation, with an understanding, with a philosophy, with an ideology. So you must learn the Siddur. The Siddur must be taught. The Siddur is not only just to read, it's to understand. And therefore, Tzohar ta'aseh la Teva. Therefore I say to Botai, let's not get confused between the Mem Patuah and the Mem Satur. The Yetzer Hara's got us in a chokehold in the synagogue. We cannot tell the difference when we're supposed to have Ma'amar Patuah and Ma'amar Satur. And that's the battle. And that's what it means, Yitziat Mitzrayim. You have to get out of that Yetzer, to leave that Yetzer that causes us to talk when we're not supposed to. If you are going to talk, think about talking during the silent Amidah. Save your conversations for the silent Amidah and pay attention to the Hazara. When the lawyer is petitioning your case, it will be very arrogant and brazen to do anything but to stand at attention and answer Amen. And with the proper elucidation of the Siddur, The Siddur becomes then a source of great light. Soha ta'aseh nateba.